of these channels support each other.
Okay, welcome back to the Marketing Playbook presented by Bluecore, Avex, and BigCo. Here you'll take away 3 game-winning marketing plays every episode to take back to your team. I'm your host, Mark Friedman, and my career has been focused on direct-to-consumer marketing, direct mail, physical retail, and digital commerce. This is episode number 106, and my guest is Donna Belardi. Donna and I go way back to her early days in the direct marketing industry and my work at a catalog company called Tweeds. She has successfully navigated the ever-changing direct-to-consumer marketing space, and for the last 27 years, she's been at the helm of Belardi Wong, a leading direct marketing agency. She also has a very interesting life story, so sit back and relax and listen to my conversation with Donna Belardi. Enjoy the show. Before we get started, a quick thank you, as always, to Max Brandstetter of the Wow Business Growth Podcast for producing this episode. You can reach him at max@maxpodcasting.com to help bring your podcast to life. Let's open the playbook. Ready, break. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Marketing Playbook podcast. Today, I'm joined by Donna Belardi. As CEO and one of the original founders of Belardi Wong, Donna has dedicated the past 27 years to helping Belardi Wong evolve and grow from a list services company to one of the leading direct marketing agencies in the country. Donna and her partners at Belardi Wong have focused on developing and expanding services, including outsourced direct marketing, creative, digital analytics, triggered programs, and strategic engagements. As a valued strategic partner to their clients, BW has become known as the go-to agency for helping retailers launch and scale their direct mail programs. Donna, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to join. I appreciate it. We have known each other since, I think, the late 80s.
Yes, long time.
If you recall, I was with a startup company called Tweeds. And do I remember it right? You were at the Specialists at that time?
Actually, yes. When we met, I was at Specialists. Yes, but I did get started at a different company before that.
Okay. Well, we part of the show when we get started, we like to talk about the guest's first story, where they grew up, maybe siblings, and how perhaps something in your upbringing might have suggested that you would have had the career that you've had.
I was born in the Bronx, but I was pretty much raised north of the city, up in Westchester, and I come from an Italian-American family. I'm the oldest of 4 children. And all of that does have a lot to do with, I think, the direction I went to as very much this practical, needed to take care of things type of a kid. And that grew up and that really made the way through my background. From a career standpoint, I would say my father was probably one of the greatest influences. His parents immigrated from Sicily and they worked as building superintendents, and he was always driven to really make as much for himself as he could and be successful. And I think I sort of followed in his footsteps in that way. He became a successful insurance executive, and I wanted him to be proud of me. So I took a lot of cues from him and was very focused on how to practically support a family. Actually, I had a scholarship to art school in Italy when I was coming out of high school, but I didn't really feel like I had the kind of extraordinary talent it would take to make a living. So I said I was going to set my sights on something more practical. And, I like to dream quite a bit, but I'm a realist and like to focus on what's achievable. So marketing seemed like a great opportunity.
So you go to school where?
Well, actually, I didn't have a lot of higher level education. I was married at 18 years old. And my husband and I went to night school at a local community college. I was lucky there. I got some great advice from a professor who was clearly very entrenched in the business world. And he looked around at all of us in the classroom and he said, all of you young people that are coming out with a 2-year degree out of a community college, don't feel like you're going to walk into Procter and Gamble and and start running their marketing company. But he said to me, I remember this. He said, look to the direct mail industry. It is high growth industry, lots of opportunity. And if you can get a job in that field, there can be a lot of opportunity for you. And that's what I did. I actually answered an ad at a local newspaper looking for a direct mail assistant. That's what I did. But by the way, I did actually finish my education finally just a few years ago. I had this itch to really complete it, and I went to NYU. And it was so cool to be able to go to school late in life when you've already built a business and apply some of what you were learning there in the day to day. In fact, I met a few very smart interns and hired them at Belardi Wong. So it was fun.
That's a good story. I did not know that background. Thank you for sharing that. So you and I guess obviously that was in the day when you could actually look to the newspaper for jobs
Hmm.
that were available. Now we obviously don't do that. What was that first company that you went to work for?
The company was Listworks. They were looking for an administrative assistant to the president of the company, and my job was to help them procure mailing lists for some of their clients. Sharper Image and Williams Sonoma were some of the bigger ones. And actually, it was at that company I developed a really strong relationship with my client at the Sharper Image. She was a young woman, about the same age as I was. And we did all our work together over the phone. There was no computers, no video, and we became these phone buddies. And funny story, one day we were both talking on the phone about how we both wanted to travel to Europe and how much fun it would be to go together. So we planned this trip, this 21-day backpacking trip through 7 countries. And we had never met in person. And I remember my boss was a little bit more than freaked out because here I was ready to go on this 3-week journey with one of his largest clients. I know he thought I was going to screw up the whole relationship, but actually, contrary to that, we became very, very good friends as well as business associates. And so when it came time actually for me to leave Listworks few years later, the Sharper Image business came along with me, along with Williams Sonoma and Orvis and a few other accounts. And it was that book of business that really gave me my start at Specialists and where I first met you at Tweeds and over at Brooks Brothers. Just really helped me understand the importance of building relationships in this industry.
Yeah, and part of the promise we give to listeners on the show is to summarize and give three key takeaways that people can take back to their personal lives and to their professional lives. And more times than not, you hear about building relationships, the networking, and how important it can be, and the fact that these relationships you build are two-way. It's not just you asking for something from that person, but also being able to give back and give things to other people as well. So that's a great story. So we'll talk about Belardi Ostroy, which is what it was called when it first started. But just set the stage for me. So you're at Listworks. You then move to Specialists. At what moment in time, were you still at the Specialists when you started to think about formulating your own company?
Well, I had been at Specialist going on about 10 years, almost 10 years there. And the e-commerce industry was really finally starting to take off, and digital was becoming a really big part of what was evolving. And there was a person I worked with, his name was Andy Ostroy, and he was on one side of the business selling mailing lists. I was on the other side of the business helping to develop plans for clients. And it was at that time that I realized that we wanted to do something more than really just be on the list side of the business. Our clients were asking us to get much more involved with their planning and their strategy. We had this opportunity. Someone came to me over at another company and offered to hire me. And I said, you know what? I'm at a great company. I don't need to go just work for someone else. But if you're interested and want to do something different, I would love to start a new business that really expands on what we're doing, that provides more strategic value to our clients. And I have this other guy here that I work with, Andy, that I know would be really interested in doing it. And that's really how we got started.
Yeah, good story. And, I think this, as you're saying, it was a formative time in the direct marketing industry because it really was changing. And, this is, I don't know exactly when this got started, but when I was at Brooks Brothers, in 2000, that was my first real opportunity in digital. They had just created a new, a website. And I was one of the lucky ones that was able to make that leap from direct mail into digital. And obviously you were helping clients. So you go off and you start this business. And what was the focus of the business?
Well, we started a lot based on what we knew initially. We needed to pay the bills, right? So we started as a list services company with two divisions, again, helping clients build their plans, procure mailing lists, things like that, and also selling. So that's how we started. But again, it was always our vision to become more full service. A few years into the business, again, we started getting more and more involved with our clients on the planning process, but it became clear to us that we really wanted to have somebody who was on the brand side that had that expertise. Neither Andy nor I had been on that side of the business. I had been working with Williams Sonoma and met my day-to-day contact there was this young woman, Polly Wong, who had recently come from EddieBauer.com and was at Williams Sonoma, and she was handling the acquisition for all of their brands. And her and her husband were planning to move to New York. They were getting married and moving to New York. And at that time, there was no remote working. So she was out looking for a new job. And I approached her and I said, Polly, what would you say about coming to work with us on our side of the business? We really want to be providing our clients more depth and expertise that only someone like you who has been on that side of the business can help us really round out. And that was the start of really truly evolving our strategic services. So Polly came on initially to just really round out and provide some added value, but she is probably one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in this industry and so driven. So it became so much more than that. And, we quickly went from just providing value to really providing a full offering of strategic services that help clients launch in the direct mail space. We added creative services a few years later and also digital.
Leading retail brands are seeing 3-year customer retention rates that average 59%, while the industry average is only 22%. What makes the difference? It's a philosophy and framework called customer movement. Customer movement centers your strategy on customers rather than channels. It's the practice of understanding customer value and moving shoppers through the life cycle more often and more efficiently. From unknown visitors to known shoppers, from non buyers to new buyers, from one time buyers to repeat, and re engaging those who threaten to slip through the cracks. Bluecore is the retail marketing technology behind customer movement, working with more than 400 leading retailers and D2C brands such as Gap, Neiman Marcus, Carhartt, and Tapestry. Learn more about customer movement and how to create a more active, profitable customer base at bluecore.com. So I want to talk about taking brands that are digitally native into direct mail. And, for those that don't really know the history, you've got direct mail and it's growing as you've talked about, and then digital becomes, an important component of marketing initiatives. But, at a moment in time, in the 2000s, let's say, everybody's talking about how paper is going to go away and how, printers are going to shut down and there's not going to be paper and, we're going to stop renting lists and this whole thing. But in fact, I never really felt that that was going to be the case. I always felt that catalog and direct mail was going to have a place in the marketing mix. But you created, I'll call it a cottage industry, if you will, a place to help brands that were in fact digitally native, didn't have stores when they got started, they started online, and you brought them into the direct mail business. How did that start for you guys?
Really started when we were starting to take on more of that strategic work for our clients. What was like really key very early on, even before I started the business, William Sonoma, who was starting to focus on building their digital business, started shifting some of their staff over to and their resources to digital. And while they weren't ignoring direct mail, they felt like, you know what? Why don't we start outsourcing some of what we do on the direct mail side and let Donna Belardi and her team handle that. So that was the start of realizing that our clients really valued our partnership there and really wanted us to do more on the planning side. So as our clients were focused more on digital, they just really weren't building the staff internally that they once did for direct mail. And certainly native online brands didn't have it to begin with. But they were very curious about the space. They saw it as another opportunity to engage with customers and to build their business. And they really wanted someone that had the expertise right out of the gate. They wanted to test it, they wanted to go into it, but they didn't want to invest staffing at the time. So we became, at that point, we had so many people on our staff that came from the brand side of the business that could come in and really just help our clients navigate this space from the beginning to the end. Help them with budgets, help them with planning, help them with the segmentation on their file, help them figure out how to target new customers, and then help them analyze the whole business from there. That's really how it started to grow. And certainly when COVID hit in the last few years, with so many brands wanting to build this direct to consumer relationship, they were looking at every opportunity to speak to these customers, and direct mail and catalogs became even bigger at that point. So, huge opportunity. I think we've launched probably more than two to 300 brands into direct mail for the first time. So, it's been great.
So people know you among many things. That's one. But for somebody that hasn't dabbled in direct mail, how do you help them understand that the performance of direct mail is additive to other channels that they're working in?
Well, we've done a lot of different types of analysis. I mean, certainly the question of incrementality always comes up. We help them understand that first one way is to look at the impact of the direct mail piece on your site metrics and your digital channel metrics. So for example, you know, how does site conversion increase week over week when a piece goes in home? Or how does traffic change? Or how does the amount of traffic from, say, brand search or email change when a direct mail is in piece? We've done this kind of week over week metrics analysis for several of our clients. And for many, we see digital metrics improve on Google and Meta by double digits when a direct mail piece goes in home. And we're able to show that through our analysis.
One of the struggles I know when I talk to brands and they look at their CAC, cost of customer acquisition, of what they can do digitally, and then they look at their potential CAC of direct mail and they see that on a pro forma basis it might be a lot higher in direct mail. How do you help them get through that concern?
Well, there's a few ways. I mean, one thing that we've always been able to prove out to clients is looking at the value of the customers that are acquired through direct mail versus digital. There truly is higher subsequent purchases that usually occur when somebody's comes through direct mail. So having clients really look beyond that first purchase has always been important. They see the value. The other thing is, clients need to understand that the role of direct mail and catalogs have changed a lot over the years. It's not this one and done thing where a customer will look at a catalog and just buy, right? The catalog serves so many areas of the marketing funnel, everything from, brand awareness to conversion. And the fact that it's really serving that role in a different way than it has in the past is something that resonates, helping them clients really understand that, a digital ad that flies by in 2 seconds may not be the same as someone that opens up a catalog, can really engage with your brand, not just with a product that they've seen that comes across the website, but really engage with the brand really drives value.
As you started talking about, how catalogs, are used differently, I made a note to ask, how has creative changed in catalogs? I mean, I think, you see a lot of what you guys produce for your clients. It's very different than, the very many catalogs that I've worked in, 84-page or larger books, high density, lots of copy
Hmm.
blocks. How's it changed?
Yeah, it really has changed. I mean, you remember years ago, everything was about square inch analysis, and every part of the catalog had to serve some purpose and create value. We actually learned more from our clients and these digital native brands that came in even initially. We were a little resistant at first to going against the grain of what we'd learned over the years. But I remember this one client that came in that had pretty much one product, but it was the way that they displayed it. Less density, more storytelling, more about the brand. And that piece drove phenomenal results. So, what again, the role of the catalog of the direct mail piece isn't about selling off the page. It's about driving interest and driving someone to the website. So having those really compelling messaging, brand story, especially when you're trying to attract prospects and create differentiation among competitors, being able to dedicate space to that than worrying about having to show every single product is how creative has really changed. So inspirational, so beautiful. You really want customers to enjoy the experience.
CMOs, if you're not fully leveraging SMS, you're missing out on the most powerful tool for building genuine customer relationships. With BigCo, SMS is no longer just about sending out blasts. It's about sparking real conversations with your best customers, gaining insights, and creating experiences they truly value. BigCo has reimagined SMS messaging to help you gather the most valuable zero party data while delivering a superior customer experience. It's about creating connections that resonate and drive meaningful results. We talk a lot about promotionality on this podcast. BigCo helps brands reduce promotionality and drive incrementality. BigCo, the secret weapon for brands that want to elevate their customer experience. Learn more at bigco.ai. Costs have continued to be a challenge for the direct mail industry, postage, paper, other kind, even acquiring names and the modeling associated with names. So, how are you helping clients think through these ever increasing costs?
Well, there's a couple ways. First, as I said, that the role of the piece has changed. It's about interest. So what we've found is that going to smaller formats or reducing pages, if the messaging and what you're showing and the product is inspirational and it attracts enough interest to drive the website, you don't necessarily need as much real estate. Being able to showcase a good selection of products, what you're all about is really key. So we've been able to integrate smaller pieces into the direct mail mix. In fact, in some ways, it creates more interest when clients see it's no longer about sending the same looking piece over and over again, but creating these different pieces intermingled actually can lift response. And so that helps offset the costs. The other thing is segmentation and just being smarter about where you're using direct mail, how you're using direct mail. We never thought, again, this was something we didn't think for a long time, but we launched our own triggered direct mail program that looks at targeting customers, retargeting customers after they've browsed a website. So these are either customers or prospects that may not have bought. And we never thought, sending a small postcard, you know, first class mail was going to offset costs in some way, but the response rates are so strong and the ROAS actually has gone up in some respects. So that's been a way for us to, again, provide another opportunity for clients to speak to customers with smaller pieces and smaller formats and still drive the type of results they want.
So that product has a brand name and it's called
It's called Swift. It's called Swift.
Swift.
Thank you for asking.
No, for sure. Again, being the old catalog guy, hard to understand how a 90 cent give or take postcard is going to perform 6 by 9 or whatever it is, 6 by 9 postcard is going to perform, better than something that's got, 24 pages or more. But would you say that it's the timeliness, the intent that the customer demonstrates by having visited the site and getting that piece into their hands quickly to reinforce the experience they had on the site that's really driving the performance?
It's both of those things together for sure. Getting in home very quickly when someone is considering a purchase, and the fact that they're not cold. They've expressed interest. They've been to the website, whether they're a customer or a prospect, so they're familiar with your brand. So, and also, compelling offers or some compelling message also helps drive that purchase as well.
The way brands acquire names to use in mailings, has also changed, very much over the years. When you and I first got started, there was no such thing as a cooperative database. Company A rented or exchanged names with company B. The amount of brain cells that you and I likely spent on keeping track of exchange balances
Yeah.
and all the paperwork involved with brokerage. I've had numerous funny conversations with your former partner Andy about exchange balances. And but the world is different. So the cooperatives, and I'm going to ask you to explain what those are, really are the way brands get names to prospect to. Fair?
Right, you're right. As you said years ago, this business was very intuitive. If you were Saks and you wanted to mail your catalog, Saks Fifth Avenue, you want to mail your catalog, well, you might go rent the Bloomingdale's or the Nordstrom list, right? Seems simple enough. But what happened probably 30 years ago is there were some brilliant people that started what was called a co-op database, where all of these different direct mail brands put their transactions into one database. And by having that database where you could look at a customer and all of the various purchases they've made across hundreds of brands and look at hundreds of variables, and then you are able to model and look at how your customer base lines up with potential prospects in that database, created this huge opportunity for us to go in and sort of mine and pick out these micro audiences of customers that had distinct variables that we didn't even know were important, but the models identified them as important. And this was a huge opportunity for me in my career. When the co ops first got started, Most of them work directly with our clients or with brands. But, I recognized pretty early on that there was something pretty unique here and that there was a future here. And I found a way to insert myself in the process, learn whatever I could, and figure out how to provide added value to both our clients and to these co-op partners and work in conjunction with them, because there's so much more that needs to be considered when developing the best audiences that go beyond just letting a modeler do their thing. So, really transform the industry.
Yeah, it brings back all those memories. 1987, when Abacus started, and one of my guests a couple of years ago on the show, Brian Rainey, who I know you know,
Mhm.
he had come from Sharper Image and went to work there. He was my first account guy while I was at Tweeds. I didn't know anything about catalog marketing. I certainly didn't know anything about cooperative databases. That's for sure.
Yeah, Brian was one of those relationships. As you remember, Sharper Image was a client of mine, and when he went to work for Abacus, him and I continued that dialogue, and I think that was really how I got to learn so much about the co-op space.
So as we round out the show, what's the one or two things that you leave for folks that are listening that are perhaps digitally native and what they should be thinking about, or even the folks that are still doing direct mail as their core competency? What should they be thinking about how the industry is going to continue to evolve?
Well, I think just continuing to recognize that all of these channels support each other. The customer journey takes a lot of different turns along the way, that direct mail has its place. We've seen, again, the response from people that receive both direct mail and digital is so much better and can offset any of the costs you would think they would be when both of those two are working together. I think effectively integrating those two channels, or all those channels, is really critical. Still, very much of the many of these channels are very siloed. One of the things we're very focused on is that integration. Many digital agencies are really focused on the digital part, don't have the direct mail discipline. Bringing that together, helping to really understand where to spend your next best dollar, is really the question you should be asking, not necessarily choosing a channel right from the beginning. So, continuing to test and explore all of this, be where the customer wants to be. These are all important things to think about.
Yeah, great call out. I love the one. I preach this all the time. You need to understand, where is the best place to spend that next dollar. And you'd be surprised, I mean, I always was challenged with that, and it's not easy to do, but you'd be surprised how many brands really don't know, if they had $1 million to spend and their boss came in tomorrow and said, here's $100,000, go spend it and drive, the business for us. A lot of people just don't know where to put that extra 100K.
Yep, for sure.
Avex is at the forefront of e commerce, leveraging a platform specific, design agnostic approach to build and optimize unified commerce experiences that captivate customers and drive business growth. The agency's expertise extends across Shopify e commerce, design, retention marketing, and conversion rate optimization, ensuring a comprehensive strategy for each project. Avex's extensive portfolio includes successful collaborations with industry-leading brands such as Hugo Boss, Kit and Ace, Calvin Klein, and Kith. Each project underscores the agency's ability to deliver digital commerce experiences that blend best-in-class technology with creative excellence and tailored growth strategy. Visit avexdesigns.com to learn more. All right, we are down to the end of the show. Donna, we do a 2-minute drill, 7 questions, 1 word answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
A brand that you admire or that inspires you.
Francis Valentine.
Favorite app on your phone.
Chatbox.
Last website other than Amazon that you shopped from.
Anthropology.
Something that you're not good at but wish that you were.
Writing.
Charitable organization that you're passionate about.
The Matthew Shepard Foundation.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
I'd like to figure out a way to stop global warming.
Other than family, what's your most prized possession?
My wedding ring.
And Donna, if people want to reach out to you on social media, where would they do that?
LinkedIn.
Okay. So, folks, this was Donna Belardi. We have had a long history, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. She's a super nice person, really talented. Has created a great business with her team and her partners. So check it out, Belardi Wong. And Donna, we keep banging into each other. It seems in a lot of different places. Clients that I have, clients that you have, and I'm glad that we've been able to work a bit together.
Thanks so much, Mark. It's been great to be here with you.
That's it. Today's game ball goes to Donna Belardi for coming on the marketing playbook. To me, today's 3 game-winning marketing plays were as follows. Number 1, direct mail and catalogs are not dead. Donna and her team have been responsible for helping close to 300 digitally native brands use paper to drive traffic to stores and to their websites. The methods are a bit different than years ago. The pieces are more about storytelling and driving brand awareness, but nonetheless, paper is an important tool in the toolbox of many retailers. Number 2, you too can start your own business. Do not be afraid to take the leap. Donna started out, as many people do, working for somebody else. As her skills developed and her network broadened, she decided to take what she knew and parlay that into a business with a colleague. They learned on the fly, but ultimately built a thriving and very important business in the direct marketing industry. And number 3, and yet again, we hear that networking and building a network is critical to your success. The key takeaway from this, though, is that networking is not a one-way street. Sure, don't be afraid to ask for help, but you need to give back as well. When people come to you and ask if you can make an introduction for them, think about how you want someone to respond to you when you have the same request. It's common to talk about paying it forward. Do that because it can make a big difference in someone's life. Thank you, Playbook marketers, for listening to another episode. If you want to check out more pages of the Marketing Playbook, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast spot and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, the devil is in the details.